What is up, everyone? The schedule has been released. We know what the Murderers Row that stands before us consists of. So we're going to jump on today, and we're going to talk about the schedule. We're going to talk about the toughest stretches, the easiest stretches, trap games, what we think is going to happen during what I'm now calling the D-Hop 6, that 6-game stretch without DeAndre Hopkins. We're going to, just kind of as a housekeeping note, Suns are playing 30 minutes from now, roughly. So we're going to try to end the show right around then. The game usually starts a little after, a few minutes late. So roughly 30, 35 minutes we're going to go today. So it's going to be a little bit shorter show so we all can go watch the Suns, except for Aarron, who is not a Suns fan, but we still love you.
Fear the deer, baby.
Yeah, well, yeah, whatever. But speaking of Aarron and my good friend Kyler here as well, Aarron, you have some awesome news on a personal front to share that's Cardinals related. Why don't you let everyone know, one, how you're doing, and tell us about your good news.
Yeah, I'm doing great. I've just been busier than ever, but great news today. So you guys know I've been writing for Raising Zona. It's been almost 2 years now, Kyler. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
I actually, my director basically called me up and offered me the site expert job at Raising Zona. So I am going to be taking over that in Monday or on Monday. And so now you guys, really get to see who's running it, and I'll be here on Thursdays as much as I can. So it's a great honor, and I can't wait to get started.
Man, congratulations. Kyler writes for Raising Zone, and I think I know I've told you all I wrote for a brief stretch for them, so I know a little bit about what that role entails, and so that's an important step up with the fan-sided network, and it's so it's a good opportunity, well deserved, and so congratulations on that for sure. And yeah, Silver Wolf AZ saying congratulations. So
thank you, sir.
So Kyler, how are you?
I'm doing good. Everything's real busy with the end of the semester. I live on a semester life schedule like you do. So
yes.
Getting ready for that to end for a little bit. But looking at the schedule, we've got some stuff to talk about. I'm ready for that.
Awesome. Well, we're gonna hit one other news item really quickly before we get to the schedule. And Class Nasty dropped this in here. I'm sure most of you saw. The Arizona Cardinals did sign defensive lineman Kingsley Keke, who was originally with the Green Bay Packers, was signed for like a minute by the Texans and then released before, during the offseason, essentially early in the offseason. So, Aarron, being from, the area, knows a little bit about the Green Bay Packers. What can you tell us about Kingsley Keke?
Yeah, so he was starting to grow into becoming like a fan favorite in 2020, I believe, or at least 2021, whichever one it was. He wasn't like a super role player, but he was able to, make some dent. And he has 6.5 sacks in his career. But he was released like the day before the NFC Championship against the Buccaneers and was claimed by Houston in February. And then he probably was released after Lovie Smith came in and had a regime change. So maybe that was Nick Caserio trying to find somebody just to have someone. But he should be a solid guy. I kind of would equate him to another defensive tackle that's escaping my mind right now. Angelo Blackson.
Yeah.
That's who I would compare him to. So there's that.
Yeah. Kyle, do you want to throw anything in there real quick? Thoughts on the signing?
I wasn't super familiar with him other than just sort of the name, knowing he's been a player around. But honestly, an Angelo Blackson comparison isn't a bad thing to me. He played his role when he was with us. I appreciated what he did in that role. So if that's what he's going to end up being, I think that's, a pretty reasonable mid-off season signing.
Yeah, when I first saw the signing, I thought, okay, this is just one of those depth signings. It's a solid signing. He's played in the league. His PFF grades are decent. They're not out of this world. They're not horrible. He's a little better in pass rusher than as a run stopper. To me, it seemed like a little bit of a cheaper replacement for Jordan Phillips. I think that the comp y'all are making is probably a better comp for the type of player he is, but his role on the roster, it's a cheaper replacement for a guy that we let go for cap space. So I think it's a solid move. I still think they needed a defensive tackle to help with, more of a run stuffer. But yeah, I think it's a decent move. Real quick, say hey to Grandizer. Yes, quick show. Thank you. Sons must watch. Yes. Kyler's in the dark room today. Okay. Yeah.
Is that a Gundam or what? Put it in the comments.
I think it is. Yeah. And then talking about the schedule, JP is saying first 3 weeks are killed. The first 3 weeks are tough. So let's pop this schedule up here. This is the schedule that based on the graphic the Cardinals tweeted out. So we see week 1, Kansas City at home, week 2 at the Raiders, week 3, the Rams at home, week 4, it's the Panthers, it's at the Panthers, week 5, Eagles at home, week 6 at the Seahawks, week 7, Saints at home. Week 8, we have the Vikings. Week 9, Seattle at home. Week 10 at the Rams. Week 11, San Francisco in Mexico City. Then week 12, we have the Chargers. It looks like at home. A late bye week, week 13. Then we get we have the Patriots at home, week 14. Then we're at the Broncos, week 15. We have on Christmas Day, the Buccaneers at home, then week 17 at Atlanta, and we finish off week 18 at San Francisco. Let me real quick say to some of the folks that just jumped in, Agent 47 will start 7-0 again. I'd love to see it. Bears predicting 10-7, 4-9-8, high 11-6. Okay. Jordan P also agrees that the first 2 weeks are brutal, but weeks 4 through 9 Cardinals better go worse 5-1. Robert Moore is saying first 6 games 3-3. So I've kind of got a couple different questions and topics. So why don't we kind of jump into this way? And if you want to throw any of your general comments about the schedule as we go, you can go ahead and throw those in there. So the first question I want us to ask is, I think that question a lot of fans have been talking about since we heard the news of the DeAndre Hopkins suspension. So what is going to be our record during the D-Hop 6? That's what I'm calling that first 6 games, and our thoughts about that first 6 games. Kyler, why don't you get us started?
All right. So right off the bat, what looks the most reasonable in those first 6 weeks? Because everyone's right. The first 3 games are brutal. Patrick Mahomes in week 1, the Raiders, who were good last year and just added more and more over this offseason, including Chandler Jones. So it'll be a little bit of a reunion there. And then the defending Super Bowl champs, LA Rams, in week 3. That, as much as I hate to say it, that does very much seem like an 0-3 start. 1-2 start, kind of in a good case scenario. But those next 3 weeks should, by all laws of logic and reason, be wins. Except it's kind of hard to say that for the Panthers because
right.
for whatever reason we cannot beat those guys.
Them in Detroit.
Oh man, yeah, Detroit and Carolina, they just have our number. But purely based on reason, I see a 3-3 start there.
Okay, Aarron, what do you think of the D-Hop 6?
Yeah, long story short, I ended up coming to the same record as Kyler had, but I had us in a different fashion. We're definitely going to lose the Chiefs. We're going to beat the Raiders. Our offensive line will get smoked by Aaron Donald. We're going to lose another stupid trap game. Cam Newton will probably do it again. I think we're probably going to lose to the Eagles too, just because we'll be in a downward spiral and Cliff will call bubble screens and revert back to 2019. And then we get a gift in, the lowly Seahawks. So I think if my math is right, that's 3-3. So
okay. Real quick, Grandites are saying Aarron close, but predated Gundam early 1970s off the Mazinger series. All right.
Never heard of it, but that's interesting.
Yeah, little anime, a little more obscure than I'm used to, but that I'm familiar with. But awesome, I respect that. So my brand is optimism, I think, and sometimes people don't like that, but I do take a little more optimistic kind of approach towards things. I'm going to say 4-2. I think they find a way to win one of those first 3 games. I'm not going to be so optimistic to say 7-0, but listen. It's not out of the realm of possibility. This team started so hot last year. Like, it's not out of the realm of possibility. I know we're all down on them because of the way it ended, but I'm going to go, a little more realistic / optimistic. And I'm going to say they find a way to win one of those first 3 and they get hot and they win those next 3 and they come out 4-2. So that's kind of where I'm going with that. But 3-3, I could definitely say it's just really hard to know, right? Yeah, Jay in the Bay thinks I'm going. Listen, I'm optimistic. I still believe this is that team that went 7-0 last year before the injuries started happening, and yes, they're going to be without D-Hop, but man, Panthers are not a good team. Eagles, I think, are a better team than people think they are, but they're still,
especially with their draft.
Right. Great draft, but they're still young. Seahawks are a mess right now. I believe the Cardinals can win those 3, and I think they can find a way to beat one of the first 3, right? But yeah, I mean, that's a tough stretch, right? So that's my take on that. So we'll see though, right? So our next question that we want to look at is, what is, in your opinion, the toughest stretch of the season for the Cardinals?
Man, I think weeks 10 through 16 are pretty rough. I know that the first 3 are as well, but that is a 3-game stretch that you can get through. And I agree with both of you. The Raiders is a winnable game. Mm-hmm. And I might even switch Raiders with Panthers and just have the Panthers beat us for whatever reason. But week 10, Rams. Week 11 is that Mexico City game against the Niners. Week 12, the Chargers, and Justin Herbert just keeps getting better and better. We have a really late bye. Patriots, can't ever completely count them out just because they're coached so well. Mm-hmm. The Broncos have added some good pieces. They now have Russell Wilson, so we still have to face him, even though he's not in our division anymore.
Barth.
And then Christmas Day, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with Tom Brady coming out of retirement. I mean, that's a pretty tough stretch of games.
Yeah, what do you think, Aarron?
I mean, Colliers' points are all fair, but I really think those first 3 games, come on, you give us the Rams in week 3. Are you serious? That is such a crucial game for the NFC West that if we don't have that, then we're gonna have to be the reverse. We're gonna have to catch up on the Rams. And I just really think, while it's not impossible to overcome an 0-3 start, especially now in a 17-game season, I just that I cannot get over that. That is just, it's just like, all right, insert the "this is fine" meme with the fire in the background.
Right. Yeah, so when I was kind of prepping for this, I put both of those stretches in my notes because those are the 2 tough stretches. I settled in the same place Kyler did with weeks 10 through 16. I get that those first 3 games are really tough, but a 6-game stretch with no easy wins. To me, that's if they come out of that first 3 games, even if they come out 0-3, they right after that, they get we'll talk about this in a minute, a pretty good stretch. That 10 through 16, they got one easy game after it, and then San Francisco, who we beat them last year, but that's, you can never consider them an easy game. So, man, that 10 through 16 stretch for me is just this long stretch with no breaks, so,
it's particularly brutal considering the history of second half slumps and also just having such a late bye. that injuries could very well start becoming a problem around that week 10 part of the season. And if you're dealing with injuries to key players and you're just trying to hold out for a really late week 13 bye, you can get into some serious trouble that kind of contributes to those second half slumps that we've been really prone to the past 2 years. So I just think those 6 games are rough.
The other thing is that, which I don't know if you guys had seen on there, really analyzed, is take a look at weeks 5, 6, 8, 10, 15, and 17. Those are all subject to flex scheduling. So like whenever D-Hop comes back, that week 6, that could easily become a primetime game for Seattle. And any of these other games, for whatever reason, what happens if the Cardinals are doing good or if somebody else is doing good, then we might get an extra primetime game in there. And, that does change your preparation.
Yeah, which by the way, I think we have 4 primetime games again. This season.
I think that's what I saw too.
So wait, so it would be the Niners, the Christmas Day, but what else?
We have a Thursday night that's prime time, I think.
Oh, is that the Patriots one?
I thought the Christmas game is a Christmas game. Christmas game is prime time.
I think the Saints is a Thursday night.
Yeah.
October 9th? No, sorry, 20th.
Yeah, I think that's a Thursday night.
You're correct.
Look at that. Yeah, October 16th and October 20th, 4 days. Yeah. So
that is terrible.
So yeah. So
also look at week 11 to week 12. You got to go international, in 6 days. Yeah, it's pretty much like, almost directly southeast, but it's still international for a reason.
Yeah. So so they've got a couple tough stretches for sure, right? So let's look at the next question though. Maybe take a little bit more optimistic question. What is the easiest stretch of the season for them?
6 through 9. 2 games against the Seahawks, a Saints team that we should easily mop the floor with, especially if Ian Book is playing. And I want Dalvin Cook to be minus 83 yards in week 8.
Yeah.
Enough of that.
Kyler?
Yeah. Well, on paper, I would extend that weeks 4 through 9. But like we've mentioned so many times, the Panthers, who knows?
Right.
And the Eagles are a lot better than people remember from the earlier part of 2021. They got much better throughout the season, and they had a great draft. It's kind of going to come down to whether Jalen Hurts is the guy or not in Philadelphia. But weeks 6 through 9, yes, it feels weird to say that we should expect to sweep the Seahawks, but the state that their franchise is in right now, we should. Like on paper, we absolutely should be sweeping the Seahawks. The Saints have problems of their own, and I do think just across the board, the Cardinals are a better team than the Minnesota Vikings. But I mean, they gave us a really big run for our money last year. That was a pretty tight game. So who knows? But 4 through 9 and the really sweet spot 6 through 9, you should be able to rack up a lot of wins, even if you start 0-3 in the tough stretch. Like you should be able to get right in the 4 through 9.
Yeah, I also really want to burn Patrick Peterson again. If Rondale Moore can do that 75-yard touchdown again, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
What are the odds that we beat the Seahawks twice? I think they're very good. I mean, listen, anything can happen, but like Drew Lock is currently slated to be their quarterback,
and then it's Geno Smith behind him. So like. Unless they use Kenneth Walker and they run up the gut on us, which Pete Carroll will probably still want to run the ball. That's the only way they could probably beat us is ball control.
Yeah, we got a question here that's a little bit change here. Joseph, Kyler, and Aarron, are there any games that you would try to go to?
Well, I was thinking. Well, before I booked, my wife and I first wedding anniversary trip to Belgium, I was thinking about trying to go to the Minnesota game. Because I'm up here in Chicago, but we'll see what happens.
Kyle, do you think you're going to be able to make any of those games?
I don't know. None are super close to me. Although I would like to go to the Falcons game because I haven't been to that stadium.
That stadium is huge. I drove by it.
Stadium's pretty cool, and I do want to experience that place.
Well,
so
I don't know if this will help spur you on to that, but I tentatively planning to go to the Falcons game. I live in Georgia.
There you go.
And maybe the Carolina game within driving distance here. And so those are the two games that I had kind of, I knew they would be playing those two teams, away. So I kind of had already kind of anticipated looking at trying to go to those two games. So, yeah, if you'd go to the ATL game, just saying, me and probably a good friend of mine are going to be up there. So
I might do that. The only thing holding me back is that it's New Year's Day and getting down their prices.
Oh,
true.
Yeah.
True.
Tough. Yeah. So I'm tentatively planning to go to at least one, maybe two.
I don't think Atlanta's highways are that bad. I actually really enjoyed them when I was there.
I mean, I have to drive through Atlanta, and there's a lot of traffic. The highways aren't the worst, I guess, but the traffic is just really, it's bad. But but like driving in Chicago is really tough too. I mean, it
literally takes you 40 minutes to go 8 miles.
Yeah. So, yep. So yeah. Oh, hey, Dealer's gonna try to go to the Falcons game too. Georgia Cardinals. That's right. Yeah, and I know. Oh, Rashad, maybe we'll get a little. Maybe we'll get a group. Yeah, get a little bit of a group.
Meet and greet, autograph session.
Right. So we'll as we get closer, obviously I got to sort out the details, but I'm pretty certain I'll go that one. So, we'll figure something out, in the Discord, right? Awesome. Okay, so that was. Thanks for asking that question, Grant. Actually, got some good conversation going too. All right, so easiest stretch. I don't know that I answered that question. Did I wrote down 4 through 9 as well. I see the argument for making it just weeks 6 through 9, but I'm going to say weeks 4 through 9. I know that Philadelphia could be tough, and Carolina, we know with the history with that, but I still think overall that's a stretch. The toughest teams in that stretch are, Minnesota, maybe New Orleans, if Philadelphia is amongst the toughest teams on that stretch, that's a pretty easy stretch, right?
Yeah.
So, let's see. The next thing I would like to ask, is dun dun dun. Where is the trap game on the schedule? And I've asked the gentleman here, we can discuss a couple of them, but I've asked everyone to kind of plant their flag on one trap game. So Aarron, why don't you get us started? What is your trap game in the schedule?
I'm not going to say the obvious one because I think you guys already have that. But honestly, I think it's Atlanta.
Okay.
Because we went over there in 2017, and I thought that was a winnable game, and it was embarrassing. That whole season sucked, as well as 2018. And it's just something about playing in Atlanta just doesn't work out for us for some reason. So,
yeah. Okay. So, Atlanta week 17. Okay. That's one of them I looked at and considered too. I mean, you look at that, where it's at. Kyler, what's your pick for the trap game?
Oh, it's Kitty.
Oh, yeah.
I'm really torn between two, but I think I'm gonna go with the Eagles because on paper it's a win for us. I still think, even with the improvements they've made, but they are a good team and they are super dangerous. So dropping that one would not be a surprise to me.
Okay. So I respect and appreciate that none of us went with the Panthers because that's the easy answer.
We already know,
right? But that's kind of cliche, and I think they're gonna win that one. We'll see, right?
That would be great.
Yeah. So I actually went with the same. Simon and I are on the same page, and I went with Week 9 Seattle.
Okay.
Because my
is at home.
Well, that's part of it, right? But also my rationale is this: that's the end of the easiest stretch, right? So it's conceivable that the Cardinals could be coming off a really hot stretch where they got things right, even conceivably like a 5-game winning streak if things go really well, right? And then they've got Seattle that, if everything goes as we're anticipating, is not very good. And they've got Seattle at home, a bad team, starting Drew Lock, or maybe at that point Geno Smith at quarterback. And the Cardinals have come off this really impressive stretch. To me, that screams trap game.
Yeah.
So that was my pick. But I think those are all great picks. I mean, those were all, picks that I kind of looked at as well. So, Rashad thinks Patriots after the bye. I mean, listen, that could be one too.
That was my second pick, was actually the Patriots. Yeah.
I mean, Patriots, you look at the roster, young quarterback. Will Mac Jones be better? Maybe. I mean, they might, but they might not necessarily be, a team that is, a top playoff team, but you can never count out Belichick and, for sure. So the last question we want to get, that's at least officially on our docket today. Actually, I've got two questions. So do you think, did the schedule makers do the Cardinals a solid, or did they do them dirty? Grandizer's saying he'll go with the Broncos. Last 3 games are must win. Broncos might be in the playoffs if Raiders, Chargers are slipping. Okay. So did the schedule makers do the Cardinals a solid or do them dirty? Kyler, what do you think?
Well, they definitely didn't do them a solid.
Okay.
I want to refrain a little bit from saying that they did them dirty, simply because, I mean, the NFL schedule works on its little cycle, right? And we have the misfortune of being in a really tough division to begin with. We're in a division with the Rams, the Super Bowl champs, and the Niners. But we also have the misfortune of playing the AFC West this year. And that's a lot of really, really tough games against some really top-level competition, who all of the teams have great quarterbacks. They all added a ton of defense. There was a whole arms race in the offseason in the AFC West, and they loaded up, and we have to play all of them. So that's, just sort of an unfortunate luck of the draw. It's our turn to do that. Now, they did do us dirty with the start. The first 3 weeks are just really rough, and starting 0-3 is going to be rough for any team. So in that regard, the actual scheduling of it, yeah, it's a little bit uneven with the stretches of decent and really rough. It's not – there are discernible stretches, There are actual segments that are pretty drastically different. So in that regard, yeah, it is a very, very rough schedule. I think there's a reason that we have the second toughest schedule in the league this year.
Yeah, Dilo says, I don't think they did us dirty. We're good. We're good enough to perform well with this schedule, but I also think it's going to make us better come playoffs. Perhaps we need this after how we ended last year. Real quick, Lance is going to that game. I might be going. If I'm going, I'm taking my 10-year-old son who wants to see that game. Rashad mentioned he's going. So there's a few folks who might be there. So as we get closer, if it's for sure, I'll let you know. It'd be great to catch up with you. Maybe have a beer. Aarron, what do you think?
I want to use a kind of an original analogy here. All these games are like dishes, and you kind of, you eat when you win, and if you lose, you don't eat. So basically, when we're looking at this, it's like kind of cleaning the dishes, and it's a dishwater schedule. It's not bad, but it's not great to work with. I mean, there's never a super bad stretch of too many home games or too many road games in a row. Alternating through week 10, I mean, that's phenomenal.
Yeah.
The longest stretch is, I mean, two road games, 10 and 11 and 17, 18. So, I mean, I think it's okay. Somebody said the football guys are indifferent, and they couldn't have said it better than that.
Yeah. Real quick shout out to Payo Time. Appreciate Zach jumping in here. Good dude. Agent 47 dirty because they get put 3 really hard games first 3 weeks. Okay. I lean towards that they did him a solid, and I'll tell you why. My rationale. And I might be overthinking it, and not that I've ever do that. I do that all the time. That's part of my job description, a professional overthinker. But I think they did him a solid in a couple different ways. One, I like the fact that the D-Hop 6 is a balanced 6 games. It might be front heavy than light at the back, but like it's 3 tough games and 3 winnable games. And like if they come out of that stretch 3-3, no one's going to be like, no one of a sound mind is going to be like, oh my God, the sky is falling. Like, okay, we came out of a tough stretch 3-3, but we're not like if all of our easy games were there and we lost some of them without D-Hop, that's not good. Right. And if all of our easy games are there and we win them all, there's all the noise other fan bases will talk about that we got this cake. They gave us this easy schedule and wah, right? So like the fact that first 6 games is balanced, it's a reasonable test, but there are winnable games. We get some of the tough games out of the way without Hopkins. If those are games we were going to lose anyway, then fine, whatever. So I kind of like how that played out. And then, they have a nice stretch in the middle to build momentum, right? Coming out of that first 3 games, the tough games, like that's when that stretch that we all thought was easiest. They get a chance to build momentum and get the ship right if things are tough without Hopkins. Now that second half is tough, right? That's not easy, but those games are the games, right? So there's a certain way where that last stretch is like, okay, if they can be solid and win games in that last stretch, that will go a long way of shifting the narrative about Cliff. The whole he can't win down the stretch. Now, if they had nothing but easy games at the end and they managed to win, people would still question Cliff, right? Mm-hmm. If they somehow manage to do well for that last stretch, I'm not going to say all the haters will go away or anything like that, but he will have that will have proved a lot. But if he's not up to the task, they're going to put us out of our misery. We won't have to we won't get our ass kicked in the playoffs because we won't make it. And there'll be maybe a cleaning of house, right? It's just, he's either going to shift the narrative, or we're going to be out of the playoffs because that's a tough stretch. So that's my rationale. Maybe I'm overthinking, right? Thoughts?
I got 2 things. The silver lining of how the schedule ends is that, I mean, yeah, you kind of have the Falcons who can be seen as an easy game, but for the most part, that last half of the season, I think for once doesn't really have easy games. Mm-hmm. And for the last 2 years, like that's what we've had. And maybe it was a mental thing being like, oh, well, we got the John Wolford Rams. Oh, we're going to smoke their ass. Part of my French.
I dropped the earlier. So.
We thought that was going to happen. We all know what ended up. So maybe it's a good thing. And then I just forgot the second thing. So yeah.
Kyle, do you think I'm overthinking that? It's all right to say I am.
No. Your logic actually tracks really well. And so does Aaron's little addition there. Having to actually really, really work through the last part of the season, maybe that does bode well for us. It doesn't allow any space for the team to drop off, for a Cliff to drop off. And if you're making a push for the playoffs at that point, every game has to become that much more important. Now, we don't have a great record in those playoff ceiling games, but hopefully this is a situation that will help force them into making it or breaking it. So I like everything you said about this is Cliff's best chance to show what he's actually going to be as an NFL coach. And I like that a lot.
Listen, I've been I won't say I've been a little bit of a Cliff apologist. I've not been he's a great coach guy, but I'm willing to bet on a guy who's smart and works hard. Let's give him, he needs a little more time. But I kind of like that I'm going to get here a gauntlet where we're going to see what he's really up to and, what he's capable of. Right. And it'll help clear up a lot because like that last season, I still feel like injuries and lack of depth really played a big part. I feel like they're adding the depth that I wanted to see them. So I feel like this is going to be a real test. So yeah, we'll see. Let me start by apologizing to everyone in the chat that that I haven't been able to get every comment in here. I'm trying to get us out of here like in just a minute or two for the Suns game. So I normally will get more of the comments on the screen or respond to more of them. I apologize for not doing as many of them. You all know that I appreciate you though. Let's get our last question, then we'll kind of get out of here and wrap things up so everyone can get to the Suns game, except Aarron, who's not a Suns fan. So early record prediction. So Aarron, give us what you think the record is going to be, win-loss record.
9-8. I am concerned about the D-Hop absence, obviously, but I'm really concerned about our run defense and our cornerbacks. We've been screaming for a corner for 2 years now, or somewhere in free agency for Keim to do his thing, and it hasn't happened. And, we'll see if everyone's Lord and Savior, Jalen Thompson, can deliver us from losing. I would say 9-8, but, another 10-8 or 11-7 would be the ceiling, in my opinion.
Okay.
Or 11-6, excuse me, whatever the record is.
Okay. Kyler, what are you saying?
Yeah, I'll give my floor and ceiling because they're really not that far apart. Because I don't see too many scenarios here that's a 13-4 type of season or better. Although that would be amazing, and I hope that is the case. I really do see the floor though, absolute floor 8-9, and that would be definitely a step backwards and something that the organization would have to think about. Ceiling is probably about last year's record, 11-6. We have a much tougher schedule than last year. And even if you end up with the same schedule, you still probably played better through the course of it. You had to work a lot harder for that 11-6 on this schedule compared to 2021. So that sort of does leave the middle ground of 10-7, which I think is probably the most likely.
Okay. I'm also going with 10-7. I think, the ceiling of this team is like really high to me. Like this is a high variance team. I feel like the ceiling and the floor are high and low. I believe that this team, if they're healthy and have depth, can be that team that was 7-0, right? And that was beating good teams. I think they have that upside, that talent. So the ceiling team is like 14 wins or something like that. But realistically, looking at the schedule, I'm going like 10 wins, maybe 11. Like just that's kind of where I'm going to hang my hat. But the basement, the floor is like wheels fall off and this last stretch goes bad and they win like 6 games. That's the floor. So it's tough, right? So listen, again, everyone, I want to get us out of here so we can all go watch the Suns close out the Mavs and go on their championship run where they're going to, completely dominate the Bucks if they make it that far.
We're going to have those hats soon.
Right.
Well, you got to get out your round too. So,
So thank you everyone for being here. Let's any final words, Kyler, let you go first. Anything you want to say on our way out?
Not much, just go Suns. Let's close this out. Let's go to the Western Conference Finals.
100%. Aarron.
Take time to analyze the schedule. I'm still analyzing it. I don't think I've ever really sat and just not been able to grasp a schedule. So take the time over it because now we got 3 months of nothing. But while you're in the summer, you're looking for Cardinals content, come read my stuff on Raising Zone and all my contributors. So appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, hey, thank you guys, Kyler and Aarron, for being here. As always, it's always a pleasure to hang out with you guys. I appreciate everyone in the chat. Again, we're doing an abbreviated version because of the Suns game. Normally we'll go closer to an hour, but I appreciate everyone. Great comments. A lot of folks in here, real active. So appreciate that. And the schedule's out. We can think about it, look at it, and figure out what we think is going to happen. it's an interesting schedule. I'll say that. That's for sure. I'm going to go ahead and throw up as we head out. I'm going to throw up the shout out for my channel members again as a thank you to everyone who supports this channel as a member. That's greatly appreciated. We'll see you guys all later. Peace.